Good evening, members, and welcome to the annual meeting of Council on the 16th of May 2024. Item 1 on the agenda is the election of chairman. Please can I have nominations for Chair of Council?
Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to nominate Stella Jones for Council Chairman, and I would like to say a few words, if I may. I had to write it down because Stella's done so much. So Stella has been serving the community for a long time in many ways. She's been a councillor in Dorset for a remarkable 51 years. She was elected to West Dorset District Council when it came into existence and served until its demise, the only councillor to be on it from the start to the end. She was a Dorset County Councillor for 6 years. She has sat on Dorset Town Council for a long time, having the privilege of being Mayor of Dorchester 3 times and also Mayoress when her partner Trevor, who's in the chamber tonight, welcome Trevor, was Mayor. She also managed to find time to be the mother of 4 children. She was a teacher, and she got stuck in with many charities in this town, including the Youth Centre, the Child Contact Centre, the Community Nursery School, and she also chaired Home Start West Dorset in the past. So having heard all that, you won't be surprised that Stella received an MBE in 2016 for service to the community. I'm not sure if this is in the Guinness Book of Records yet, but Councillor Jones is probably the longest serving female councillor on principal councils in the country. She truly is the mother of the chamber, and I wholeheartedly recommend it to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ireland. Do we have a seconder for this nomination? Councillor Canning.
Thank you, Chairman. It gives me great pleasure to second Stella Jones for this fantastic post. Stella has given a lifetime of service to the local community and to this council and to all the predecessor councils, which is an absolutely fantastic job. I sometimes feel that I've been on councils myself for an awful long time, and it drags sometimes, but then I realise Stella's been doing the job for twice as long as I have. So I wholeheartedly recommend you appointed today.
Thank you, Councillor Canning. Do we have any other nominations, please? Councillor Kimber?
Yep. Thank you, Chair, fellow councillors. Paul Kimber, Portland. I like to do my annual self-nomination for the position, believing that this position should be a neutral person, very much so, and I've said year after year, and so therefore I do myself put forward my self-nomination. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kimber. Do we have a seconder for Councillor Kimber's nomination? Unfortunately, Councillor Kimber, I can't see a seconder. So, in the absence of any other nominations, I declare that Councillor Stella Jones is duly elected unopposed as Chair of Council. Sorry.
I, Enid Stella Jones, having been elected to the office of Chairman of Dorset Council, declare that I take the said office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability. I undertake to observe the code as to the conduct which is expected of councillors of Dorset Council. Thank you very much for supporting me to be Chair of Dorset Council. It's a great honour. Having heard, I've been Mayor of Dorchester 3 times, But now I'm looking forward to representing the whole of Dorset, not just the county town. You may have noticed I took off my yellow scarf. The chair of council is not political. It is a whole council that I am chairing. We are a very inclusive council, and I'm sure we'll all work together for all of our residents. It's good to welcome so many new councillors and see younger members here on this council. I know how difficult it is to juggle a career and council work and childcare, and hopefully we can make it easier in future to attract more young people. I've lived in Dorchester since 1971. I have 4 children, and so know that Dorset is a great place to bring up a family. But unfortunately, we lose many young people to other parts of the country when starting their careers. It would be nice to do more to keep their talent and skills here in Dorset. Have you heard? I've just heard I'm very community-minded and have worked with many local charities. I'm aware of all the help the voluntary sector gives to improve the daily lives of all residents and help work with this council, and I would like to thank them all. I would also like to praise the work done by our town and parish councillors. I would like to visit some of these councils to see how we can better work together to share skills and local knowledge. I have worked with children all my life, and I will listen to them and hope to include young people in all council events. They are the future of Dorset. And now I'd like to thank Val for all the work she's done for the last 4 years as chair of this council. She's been a great ambassador to Dorset. Thank you, Val.
That's the one. I'll keep it. Thank you very much. Thank you, Stella, for your good wishes, and I truly hope your term is as happy as mine was. I'd just like to say how much over the last 5 years I've enjoyed being first your vice chairman and then your chairman. It's been a wonderful and privileged experience to represent this council and our beautiful county in the wider world. I have endeavoured to protect the reputation of the council, support the traditions that matter, and build new ones. As I've said before, I've always felt that with the ending of the district councils, it was really important that strong bridges were built between this authority and our town councils. To that end, I've had the pleasure of knowing and admiring a great many mayors. I have met many people who've given their friendship and service to assist me in carrying out my duties, from the gentle Reverend Martin Lee at Sherborne Abbey and Andy Worth at Keep 106, to Betty Smith-Billington of Cushtybok and Dave Penman, photographer, through 5 High Sheriffs, and not least, the encouragement and support received from Angus Campbell, His Majesty's Lord Lieutenant. There are several thank yous that I need to give. Firstly, I'm extremely grateful for all the support I've received from members of this council. You've all behaved with dignity and respect for the office I've held, and long may that continue. To Councillor Bill Trout and his partner Cheryl, who worked tirelessly over the past year as my vice chairman. To Susan Dallison, who has ensured that I was fully prepared for meetings of full council, and along with Jonathan and Matt, have given me the benefit of their wisdom, experience and knowledge. I also need to thank the extraordinary and dedicated Judy Saunders, who has so skillfully managed my civic diary. Without Judy's attention to detail and weekly support, I would surely have tripped up. Last but certainly not least, I would like to thank my consort Graham Isaac, who's steadfastly been by my side and has ensured my timely attendance at civic events. Anyone that knows me well will know how hard that job is. Graham has willingly given up so very many of his weekends over these past 5 years to support me in carrying out my duties. Thank you, Graham, for your loyalty and care. I will now vacate the dais and find my seat to cause a bit of trouble, hopefully not.
Now, item 2, election of vice chairman. Do I have any nominations for vice chair? Councillor Sutton.
Chair, may I say a few words? Thank you. I'm proposing Councillor Fry for the 4th year running, and I'll be brief because two-thirds of you have heard this before. I've worked closely with Les on a number of issues, particularly in relation to funding for youth clubs and a code of conduct complaint. For me, his probity and diligence are beyond question. Les is not a yellow, blue, red or green independent. Les is a true independent, and that's what we need in this position. He has an illustrious 28-year career within the police, and I think is highly respected all across this chamber. Please let's do the right thing this time and elect Les to Vice Chair. Thank you.
Do I have a seconder for Les Fry? Thank you, Dr.
Thank you, Chair. I'm very happy to second Councillor Les Fry as Vice Chair for exactly the same reasons that Councillor Claire Sutton has said. We've supported him as a Liberal Democrat group for at least 2 or 3 years, I believe, unsuccessfully, but that's going to change tonight.
Do we have any more nominations for Vice Chair?
Madam Chairman, I'd like to nominate that First Lady of Weymouth, Councillor Kate Weller, for Vice Chair of Dorset Council. Councillor Weller has served as Mayor of Weymouth Portland Borough and recently of Weymouth Town Council. Her civic ability is second to none. Her service to her constituents, highly rated. She's not of the same party as me, but she has my full support, and I think with the events of today, we should give her our full support and vote her for Vice Chair. Thank you.
Is there a seconder for Kate Weller?
Thank you, Chair. And may I start, of course, by, on behalf of the Conservative Group, welcoming you and congratulating you to the Chair. I'm very happy to second the nomination for Councillor Weller to serve as Vice Chair of Dorset Council. As my colleague Councillor O'Leary has just alluded to, Kate has proven her spurs and really earned the right to the position, or certainly the opportunity for the position, as a result of her civic duties in the former Weymouth and Portland Borough Council. And also, may I say, actually in this council, because we often talk about the cabinet or we talk about the chairs of committees, but we very rarely actually talk about the chair of the corporate parenting board. And for a considerable period of the last administration, Kate Weller served that with great distinction, championing our children and young people, and those very much in our hearts and in our care. So for those reasons, I would wholeheartedly second the nomination.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations for Vice Chair? No? We have 2 nominations. We'll have to go to the vote when Susan tells us we are ready.
Thank you, councillors. The vote is now open. Could Councillor Neil Isaac just press the button again, please, for us? Thank you. The vote is now closed. The results of the vote are 45 in favour of Councillor Les Fry, 32 in favour of Councillor Kate Weller, 2 abstentions. Therefore, Councillor Les Fry has been elected Vice Chair.
Congratulations.
I, Councillor Les Fry, having been elected to the office of Vice Chairman of Dorset Council, declare that I take the said office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability. I undertake to observe the code as to the conduct which is expected of councillors of Dorset Council. Thank you, everybody. This, for me, is a true honour to be here tonight. I'm very proud to represent Dorchester as the Councillor for Dorchester West, but actually I'm even more proud and honoured and humbled to serve the people of Dorset. It's Dorset, the people we want to look after, and I'm very proud to take Dorset forward for the future, and you can be assured you'll have my best attention on doing everything the right way as best as we can. So thank you, everybody. I look forward to working with you, and of course I'll be supporting our Chair of Council in everything she does. Thank you, everybody.
Now we move on to item 3. Have we any apologies for the meeting?
Apologies for absence have been received from Councillor John Orrell and Councillor Jill Haynes. Councillor Kate Weller was due to be in attendance tonight, but personal circumstances have prevented her at the last minute from being with us.
Thank you. Item 4. If there are no matters to raise on accuracy, I'll sign the minutes of the meeting held on the 13th of February 2024 as a correct record. Hope you heard that. I didn't realise I was talking. Yeah. Everybody happy with the minutes? Thank you. 5. Are there any declarations of interest? No. Well, I've already said a lot, but all I can say now, I know this week is called Learning at Work Week, and I think I'll be learning lots of names today. So if I've got your name wrong, please excuse me, but I'm sure you'll need to learn them as well. The election of leader. Have I got any nominations for leader of council? Any nomination for leader of council? Yeah. Councillor Canning.
Sorry, Madam Chair. I think amidst all the discussions we've had, we hadn't realised we'd forgotten the most important one of all. I would like to nominate Councillor Nick Ireland as leader of the council for the next 5 years. Thank you.
Is there a seconder for? Thank you, Councillor Legg. Any other? Any other nominations for leader of council? I there propose that Anne Ireland is the leader of the council. Well done.
Sorry. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, members of the Chamber. I'd like to announce the Cabinet, if I may. They've got very long titles, so I'm going to have to read them out, I'm afraid, because I can't remember them all. So in addition to being leader, I'm taking the portfolio holders' positions for governance, performance, communications, environment, climate change, and safeguarding. Environment and climate change, I've decided to take on myself. It's a cross-council thing now. It's embedded with our officers and our members. And I thought it deserves the attention that the leader can give it. Councillor Richard Biggs on my left, he's going to be my deputy leader. He's also the portfolio holder for property and assets, economic growth and levelling up. Next to him is Councillor John Andrews from Sherborne. He's going to be the portfolio for Place Commission Services, which is a fancy title for highways, waste, travel, leisure and etc. Next to him is, etc. is Councillor Shane Bartlett. He has a passion for planning, so he's going to be portfolio holder for planning and also emergency planning. Next to him is a newbie on the council. So Councillor Simon Clifford has an extensive CV, which you'll probably find out about soon, but he's going to be our portfolio holder for finance and capital strategy. And next to him is Councillor Steve Robinson, another new councillor from Litchett, portfolio holder for adult and social care. Steve's got a huge background in that sphere and he's perfect for the job. And I'll go to Councillor Ryan Hope next, who's our portfolio holder for customer, culture and community engagement. And then another Ryan, also confusingly with a H as a surname, is Councillor Ryan Holloway from Wareham. He's portfolio holder for corporate development, transformation, digital and change. And I'd like to welcome Councillor Claire Sutton to the Cabinet. She's obviously a member of the Green Party and leader of the Green Group. She is going to look after children's services, education and skills. And finally, but definitely not least, is Councillor Jill Taylor. We've decided to split health out of adult social care. We felt that health probably didn't get the attention it deserved in the last 5 years. So Jill was chairing people and health scrutiny. So she's going to be portfolio holder for public health, environmental health, housing, community safety and regulatory service. We haven't got any lead members. We promised to get rid of them, and we have. There you go. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ireland. Item 9, announcements and reports from the leader.
I have written a small speech. It isn't very long, you'll be pleased to know. So I'd like to welcome back to those who were successfully re-elected. A very warm welcome for those all newly elected. And also thanks to all the councillors who served on the last 5 years, whether you're here or you didn't get re-selected or you decided to stand back. Thank you for your service. It's great to see the Chamber is now younger and more diverse, and I very much look forward to working with you all. As a council, we need to be much better at accommodating councillors who have daytime jobs or responsibilities and childcare and carer commitments, as Stella Jones has already mentioned. And it's something that we will be looking at again. Over the last 5 years, Lib Dems have listened to both the concerns and aspirations of our residents, and the result was a manifesto that resonated with the Dorset public. Dorset wanted change, and we will work hard to bring it. We will initiate immediate reviews in areas where people have told us they have been let down. Car park charging rises, bus services, supporting funds to help in the cost of living crisis, as well as our long-term targets to vastly increase the building of genuinely affordable homes to buy and rent. Solutions can be easy, but I know they come at a cost. We will work to understand what these are and how they can be funded before making any decisions. 5 years ago, not too far away from here, we came together as one, well almost, to declare a climate emergency. And our officers and members have embraced that decision to the benefit of not just Dorset, but to the planet. Whilst every decision we take going forward won't necessarily have the impact of that one, I hope and trust that the collaboration and agreement we showed 5 years ago will be the norm rather than the exception in this chamber. We may have different views on ways to achieve our objectives, but these objectives are ultimately more similar than not. And I ask that you all keep that in mind as we navigate through the next 5 years of this council together. Thank you.
Does anyone want to ask a question on the leader's report? Councillor Kimber.
Councillor Paul Kimber, can you hear me? I thank you for your introductory speech tonight, Leader, and your commitment to the environment. As we all know tonight, as we came in, there was a group, I believe, called POP, and they are very much around committed to that environment. It almost seems ironic 5 years ago, you and I had to walk through that demonstration, and again 5 years later, there's another demonstration, or a very polite one tonight, calling for our action again. They've asked me to ask you, how will you prioritise nature during your term? Have you got anything that you can really look at? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kimber, for your question. I did give a speech outside to all of them. I'm not going to read it again because that would be weird. All I would say is that Dorset Council has embraced climate change and taken action. I was given a briefing yesterday, which was several pages long, of all the things that Dorset Council has done to protect nature, to foster nature, and the things it's going forward. And I'm not going to go through that again here, but I will share it if I'm allowed to. I think I probably am. I said at the end of my speech outside that the next full council in July, I will be putting forward a motion, hopefully with the support of everybody here, to declare a nature emergency. There is such a thing, and that's what I'll be putting forward. I hope that answers your question.
Any more questions for the leader? No? Thank you. We'll move on now to the public participation questions. We have five questions. The first is submitted by Martine Summers. Is she here or her representative? Yeah, we'd like to come and sit down here then. Right. You ready when you are to ask the question?
Hello. We are repeatedly being informed by all agencies that no one except Portland Port wanted the barge on Portland. However, without consultation or consent, it happened. And the MAF, the Multi-Agency Forum, was set up to deal with the issue. Throughout the past year, the island of Portland and its people have changed irrevocably, almost beyond recognition. This was a very happy island. People spoke openly regarding issues or problems that arose. People are now reticent to discuss the barge openly with one another for fear of being labelled a racist, right-wing, bigoted, or being targeted and intimidated, closing down intelligent conversation and introducing cancel culture. The MAF should be an outlet for residents to openly channel their fears and frustrations, dealing with real and important questions that the average Portlander feels. For example, regarding ever-increasing costs, the almost empty coaches running frequently into Weymouth being an issue which is being constantly questioned. The lack of evidence of any additional CCTV on Portland itself, which was originally promised, and many other fearful and frightening concerns which may arise that the average Portlander is trying to cope with. We are noticing the reports that are coming out of the MAF meetings. They are painting a picture biased towards the benefits for the men on the barge and appears to be forgetting the needs and concerns of the islanders. It feels as though there is full representation for the men, but a reluctance to represent the important and real feelings of the islanders. After all, we are still a democratic country. So how can the MAF act in the best interest of the people when there is no forum for anyone to ask questions and obtain answers? Tax-paying people of Portland and Weymouth must not be forgotten and deserve a voice. Something should change on behalf of the islanders. I suggest a generic email address should be set up so that questions or concerns that Weymouth and Portland residents have can be addressed. Send it into the MAF for response in an adult and civilised manner without being targeted as a nuisance or the grossly unfair racist. Please don't forget that these are the tax-paying people that you as councillors represent. I therefore come to my question, which is, as a newly elected council, can the MAF consider itself fit for purpose when it supplies a one-sided, almost utopian view of the barge without considering the balanced and grown-up concerns of the people of Portland whose views are not being met or are being ignored? Example being cost of coaches and safety of personnel, for example, CCTV. We really are not interested in the puerile and childish reports of hellos whilst litter picking, which is a case in point. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your question. You'll get a response after the next question because it's on a similar topic. I have question 2 submitted by Kate Robson, who's also here.
Thank you for accepting my question. I want to highlight really the cost, which is in every taxpayer's interest. So Portland Ports and the Home Office's covert, non-consultative, under-the-table business transaction to moor the Bibby Stockholm at Portland Port has probably been the most divisive decision ever made within Weymouth and Portland. It serves no purpose and has failed to hit any of its objectives. It is not more cost-effective, nor it is a deterrent. So disgusted with the lack of consultation, imposition and escalating costs, I have submitted my own FOIs to the Home Office to ask the end date of the initial contract, the numbers on board and the cost to date. I was provided with the following information on the 7th of May. As many of you will know, the contract is due to end on the 8th of January 25. As of the end of January this year, there were 321 asylum seekers on board. However, the most shocking expose is the running cost paid to contractors CTM, Corporate Travel Management North, the direct contract with the Home Office, which up until the 3rd of April this year came to an extraordinary £12,900,000 of taxpayers' money. This does not include the grants for ancillary, authority services, police, voluntary grant, or cost of the Home Office staff. The CTM contractual value alone equates to over £40,000 per asylum seeker who has resided on the barge so far. The indulgent use of taxpayers' money for services provided to the barge is inexcusable. The exclusive and mainly empty buses being a stark reminder of disproportionate priorities, considering local services are at breaking point. Further insight into despicable rising costs is noted in the National Audit Investigation published on the 20th of March this year, which determines, at a maximum reduced capacity of 430 over 18 months, the cost to the taxpayer will deem to be 34.8 million. We know it will surpass this. Broken down, this is near on 4.5 per month per head, enough to go on an all-inclusive month-long cruise, rent a flat in Chelsea or a house in Sandbanks each. Hence, and with relevance, my question is around the motion put forward last year at the Dorset Council meeting here on the 13th of July 23, that the barge must be removed at the earliest opportunity, as every commentator agrees. I also request, please, that allocation of spend of grants received by Dorset Council from the Home Office be made public. And with reference to this removal, though, the latest MAF update on the 30th of update, it is stated, no decision has yet been made on the future use of the Bibby Stockholm. The Home Office will continue to engage and work collaboratively with Dorset Council, Portland Port and Dorset Police to look at options for lease extension after January 25. And so to my question, please provide insight into these engagements and collaborations and explain that if no decision has been made on the future use of Bibby Stockholm, why is Dorset Council currently recruiting for 2 full-time social workers signposted to work primarily with asylum seekers located on Portland for the next 18 months? And in addition, how can a possible extension be substantiated given the cost and failures? Thank you.
Thank you for your question. I now call upon Councillor Ireland to answer both those two questions.
Thank you for your two questions. I have a prepared statement which I'll read out. The use of the BB Stockholm to barge to accommodate asylum seekers is not something that was sought or agreed to by Dorset Council. I've been newly elected leader this evening. I am not in a position to answer any detailed questions about how the Council and other agencies are responding together to the new burdens imposed by the Home Office decision. At its meeting on the 13th of July 2023, the last Council agreed, and I quote, that the mooring of the barge in Portland Port is an entirely inappropriate location and should be removed at the earliest opportunity. And Dorset Council also said, and I quote again, that Dorset Council, while not the decision makers, will work with all agencies to mitigate the impact this will have on Dorset. This is still Dorset Council's position. Any future decision about the use of the BB Stockholm is one for the Home Office and not for Dorset Council. The ultimate solution, and key to the removal of the barge from Portland, is for the government to invest in the Home Office's asylum system and process to remove the backlog and enable those who are successful in their application to contribute positively to UK society.
Thank you. We'll now move on to question 3, submitted by Edward Locke, who is on Teams.
Good evening, Madam. I apologise for not being present this evening. My question is this. In view of the considerable time and resources invested in the last draft local plan, both by the public and the council, will the new council consider resurrecting the draft plan, possibly omitting any of the controversial strategic allocations?
I call on Councillor Ireland to respond to that question.
Thank you, Mr. Locke, for your question. So Dorset Council's local development scheme was adopted in March 2024, and this confirms that the Dorset local plan will be a new style local plan prepared under the proposed reforms to the plan-making system. The key stages and likely timescales indicate that a project initiation document will be submitted towards the end of 2024, with consultation and engagement on the visioning and strategy envisaged to follow in May 2025. Whilst it will be a new style local plan, the preparatory work done to date will be used to inform the new style local plan. But at this point in time, the Council has not made any decisions about the form or content of the emerging plan. And I'm going to add this bit, I'll probably get into trouble for this, but whilst the delay to the local plan is regrettable, it does give us the opportunity to ensure includes all the sustainability, climate, environmental, carbon neutral, and many, many other policies that we didn't have in the current inherited local plans.
Thank you. Question 4, submitted by Pat Latt, who is not here, is very similar to question 5. So we'll move on to question 5, submitted by Mr. and Mrs. Carroll, and they are here, I believe. Mrs. Carroll.
Press that and shout. Got it. Can you all hear me? Okay. Right, I'd first like to say to you all, thank you very much for inviting me here and congratulations to all the new councillors. Also, I'd like to extend my thanks now to Chris Loader MP and Lord Rendell of the House of Parliament, who have successfully changed the law or the length of the sentencings for animal cruelty cases from 6 months to 5 years. As you can guess, I'm going to talk about animal cruelty. My burning passion against animal cruelty stems from my late uncle. He was a hands-on chief superintendent of the RSPCA. He and a BBC film crew followed undercover and reported on the Dieppe live horse trade of many years ago. I'm sure some of you can remember. He uncovered the most abject cruelty ever seen on British television. The horses en route to slaughter in Europe suffered the most unimaginable treatment. Parliament was lobbied relentlessly by my uncle and his crew. Together they stopped live transportation of livestock altogether. Now, coming to my pet hate at the moment is halal meat and the way that the animals are slaughtered. This most barbaric and torturous killing method should be abided to within the laws of the UK, but it's not. The law is the Welfare of Animals, Slaughter or Killing Regulations of 1995. One would be desperately naive to believe that a halal slaughterer has time to pray, as we've all been told, over each animal as it passes through. There's no easy death by bullet for these animals. Knives are frequently blunt. Stun guns are not used, bar the electrical cattle prods, which are deliberately inserted to encourage forward movement. And I'll leave that to your imagination. As the animal bleeds out, pitifully trying to make some sound to show its pain, it will fall to its knees. There's a river of blood underneath it from its own and those that come before it. A rope is brutally attached to the hind legs, both legs if it's lucky, or small enough, or I should say large enough. So often the writhing animal can be yanked upwards and in an upside down position, swinging while still conscious. One can only imagine. Unless you've seen yourself or heard the harrowing sounds of terror passing from one animal goaded through this clanging metal gate to the next in line, you will not know what I'm talking about.
Could I ask you to ask the question, please?
Okay, thank you. Right, so can I have a reassurance from the District Council, the Dorset Council members here, that they will never be bullied or coerced or paid to allow this most barbaric of slaughter to happen within the Dorset Unitary Council?
Thank you for your question. I'll now ask Councillor Shane Bartlett to respond.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and thank you to the member of the public. In October 2015, the government published guidance on how to legally carry out slaughter without stunning an animal where this is necessary in accordance with religious rites. The guidance was updated in June 2023 in line with improvements to the welfare of animals. The guidance is clear that all animals must be stunned before slaughter unless an animal is being slaughtered in accordance with religious rites. Dorset Council, in its capacity as a local planning authority, must consider all planning applications on their individual merits at the time of the application. Any decision needs to be based upon relevant material, planning considerations, irrespective of whoever the applicant is or what they are proposing. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, and thank you for the questions. We now move on to item 11. There are no petitions and no deputations. Item 12 are questions from councillors. We have two questions. The first is submitted by Councillor Chait.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Since at the full council meeting on the 13th of February, a policy review of street lighting was promised from the Corporate Director for Highways in response to the serious nighttime nuisance being caused to Swanage residents by the installation of street lights, which are obviously much too harsh, intense and intrusive for the residential roads concerned. How much longer than the present 3 months will it be necessary to wait for this belated review? Thank you.
Can I ask Councillor Andrews to respond?
Thank you very much, Councillor Chait, for your question. The previous portfolio holder for Highways requested that a review of the current street lighting policy be undertaken post-election. I will be asking that this is done as soon as practicable. In the meantime, there are approximately 100 LED streetlights in Swanage that are affected by the concerns raised by the residents. These lights are composites made from the outer shell and lens of the old low-pressure sodium lights, retrofitted internally with LED lamps. This was done approximately 2 years ago by the council's street lighting service provider. Because the old sodium lanterns had exceeded their operational life expectancy and replacement parts were no longer being available. The result is that these lanterns have the light dispersal properties of the previous sodium lanterns, but the light characteristics of an LED bulb. These hybrid lights were compliant with all legal requirements at the time they were installed and continued to be so. However, following the advice on the best practice that we have received from the Council's Director of Public Health, we have concluded that they should be replaced with the newer type of LED lantern that we are now using elsewhere in the county. The newest lanterns are designed to direct light downwards onto the highway, limiting the light spillage outside the bounds of the highways or towards neighbouring properties and residences. This will significantly change the overall appearance of the lighting scheme. The newer lanterns also permit greater use of shields or shrouds to manage the throw of light from each individual lantern. I have asked for the lanterns to replace as swiftly as possible. I've also asked the Director of Highways to instigate an independent review of the current lighting and street lighting operational impacts. Thank you.
You okay with that, Councillor Chite? Andrew Parry.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Andrew Parry, West Parley Ward. The rollout of large-scale development in the heart of West Parley Village, designed to accommodate the business model of a national house builder, working with planning officers from Dorset Council, has, from the community's perspective, been abysmal. It is well documented that this scheme was against the wishes of residents, West Parley Parish Council, and me as ward councillor. But officers were so keen to recommend the scheme for approval by the Eastern Planning Committee that promises were made, including addressing traffic congestion in the area. This would have been one of the very few upsides to an otherwise highly questionable rolling back of Greenbelt for development. However, the area is now plagued by traffic chaos, with gridlocks and longer tailbacks at peak times. Reports suggest housing units have been slow to find buyers, housing associations have declined the affordable units, the road specifications are too narrow to meet our adoptable standards, questions about the permanent water capture area, which will almost certainly attract birds, constructed underneath the flight path of the nearby airport, remain unanswered by officers. Other matters that really should be reviewed include the double yellow line fiasco, delays in opening the new Lidl store, and the existing homeowners in the area now reporting they can sense traffic vibrations inside their properties. It remains unclear why officers were so keen to see this development approved. Locally, we have no idea because they have stopped responding to our request to meet with us. Therefore, I'm seeking assurance from the new portfolio holders, the Chief Executive and place directors to work with the Ward Councillor and Parish Council to review all concerns and address them.
Ask Councillor Bartlett to respond.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Can I thank Councillor Parry for his question? I take the concerns he raised very seriously and we are aware of the issues in West Parley. I hope he will appreciate I've only just been appointed as portfolio holder, but I will agree to meet with you and Councillor Andrews, portfolio holder for Highways, outside of the meeting with the relevant officers to seek an understanding of the current situation. Thank you.
Councillor Parry, is that okay? Thank you. We now move on to item 13, the appointments to committees and election of chairman and vice chairman. I'll pass over to Jonathan Mayer.
Good evening, members. Jonathan Mayer, Director of Legal and Democratic. I'm pleased to present to the annual meeting of Council a report and recommendations on political balance and the appointments to committees and the election of chairman and vice chairman of committees. I'm also pleased to report that all 82 councillors have already signed your declarations of acceptance of office, so you're all able to act in role. All 82 members have also signed up and belong to one of 5 political groups, and the numbers are set out in section 1.2 of the report. 42 Liberal Democrat members, 30 Conservative members, 4 members of the Green Group, 4 independent members and 4 Labour Group members. So all members of the council are politically grouped. If I can take you briefly to paragraphs 4.1 and 4.2 of the report. In 4.1, I explain that no councillor shall be a chairman of more than one committee and vice chair of more than one committee, except with the consent of the full council. And when you come to the final recommendation in this report dealing with the nominations for committee chairs and vice chairs, that will become relevant because the nominations for the appointment of Chair of Place and Resources Overview Committee, Councillor Andy Canning will be nominated to chair that committee, and there is a recommendation also that on a later item on this agenda that Councillor Canning should chair the Pension Committee, which is a combined committee with Bournemouth, Christchurch and Poole Council membership as well. And so if you make those appointments to those chairmanships, you will be expressly agreeing to one member being in 2 chairmanship positions. If I can also draw your attention to paragraph 4.2. Sorry, I've covered that one, thank you. So if I can take you then to the recommendations. Chair, I'm going to suggest that we take recommendations 1 and 2 first, and then separately come to recommendation 3, dealing with the election of chairs and vice chairs to committees for the 2024 and 25 year. The first recommendation is straightforwardly that the allocation of committee seats in accordance with the political balance rules and the appointments to ordinary committees, joint panels and boards as nominated by the political group leaders be approved for 2024-25 as set out in appendices 1, 2 and 3, which you have in your papers. And the second recommendation, that delegated authority be given to Director of Legal and Democratic, to me, that is, in consultation with the appropriate political group leader, so that we can accommodate any in-year changes to appointments. So, Chairman, my advice is that you take recommendations 1 and 2 now, before moving on to the appointment of chairs and vice chairs. Thank you.
Is everyone happy to vote on recommendation 1 and 2 without debate? Yeah. Thank you very much. Now we'll move on to recommendation 3. We need to have a full vote on 1 and 2. A show of hands. Sit up. No. Oh, sorry. Councillor Legg.
To work. How about that? Unaccustomed as I am, I'd just like a little bit of clarity, please, on what we're voting on, because looking at the ModGov or Modern Gov or whatever it is, we've got all of these sections they're all split up into different elements, Jonathan, and it would be really helpful, at least from my point of view, if not anybody else, if we knew which appendix we ought to be opening and in what order, so that we know exactly what we're voting for. Because at the moment, I have to say, unaccustomedly confused.
I believe we're voting on agenda item 13 and recommendation 1, political groups and entitlement, and 2, allocation of committee seats and appointments to committees.
Chairman, if I can clarify, so all members will have in their packs online appendices 1, 2 and 3. Appendix 1 is the allocation of committee seats. Appendix 2 is the nomination nominations to committees for 2024-25. So the actual membership of those committees, and Appendix 3, nominations to committees, joint committees, panels and boards. And then you would be voting separately in recommendation 3 on the nominations that have been made for chairs and vice chairs. So at the moment, we're just dealing with appendices 1, 2 and 3.
One of them has been amended recently, hasn't it? Is that right, Jonathan? One has been amended since, yeah.
Yes, it has, Chair.
So now we're just voting on 1 and 2. Do we need to proper vote? We'll vote on our handsets when Susan's ready.
Okay. Councillors, the vote is now open. Councillor Flower, would you mind pressing your button again for us? Thank you. 55. And Councillor Andrew Parry, would you mind pressing your button again for us, please? Thank you. Thank you. The vote is now closed. The results of the vote are 78 in favour and 1 against and no abstentions. So those recommendations are carried. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Item 3 is covered by these recommendations, so we'll move on to recommendation 4, which is the appointment of chairs and vice chair. And when the People and Health Overview Committee, we have 2 nominations for vice chair. We have Councillor Chatterwater and Councillor John Orrell. Do we have nominations for either of those?
Thank you. May I say a few words? I'd like to nominate John Orrell. 2/3 of you know him quite well because he served in this chamber for quite some time. He was a GP in probably the most deprived ward in the whole of the county, in Melcombe Regis, for almost 40 years. I think it's fair to say he's universally respected across this chamber. He'd make a fabulous vice chair. And also, in the interests of a bit of, cross-party, I really very much hope that sufficient people in here will support John for this role. Thank you.
Do we have a seconder for John Orrell? Thank you, Brenda. Councillor Ireland.
I haven't said anything yet. So I'd like to nominate Councillor Will Chakawata. He's new to us, so he's not known to 2/3 of the chamber. So I'll provide some background information as why we think he'd be a great Vice Chair of People and Health Overview. So Will has a mental health nurse background and has worked in the NHS for over 25 years in Wales and then in Dorset since 2005. And he is currently a senior manager in the NHS. He has a degree in mental health, a law degree, and also a master's in security risk. He served as a magistrate for over 10 years, and I think he was the youngest ever at the time. He was an independent scrutiny chair for 5 years for Dorset PCC Martin Underhill, and he was also the independent chair of the BCP Equality Commission, which focused on health inequalities during the COVID period. He makes a great addition, not just to our Liberal Democrat group, but also to the wider membership of this council, and I'm very pleased he agreed to accept the nomination before us now.
The seconder for that nomination. Thank you. Are there any other nominations for Vice Chair of the committee? In that case, we'll have a vote on your handsets when Susan's ready.
Councillors, the vote is now open. Councillor Claudia Webb, could you just vote for us again, please? Thank you. Thank you. The vote is now closed. The results of the vote are Councillor Will Chakawata, 41 votes, Councillor John Orrell, 13, 25 abstentions. Therefore, Councillor Will Chakawata has been duly elected as Vice Chair. Thank you.
To that. Now we can move on to the Licensing Committee, which is the only other one where there's a contest. Councillor Louise Bowen. Councillor Ireland.
Yes, I'd like to nominate Councillor Louise Bowen to Vice Chairman of Licensing. Louise is currently a teacher and has been for some years, but she also has a background in police. She's worked for Dorset Police in the past, and actually for Whitbread and Majestic Wine. So she has some knowledge of licensing, so I highly recommend her to the Council.
So a seconder for Councillor Louise Bowen. Thank you, Andy Canning. Thank you. A nomination for Councillor Les Fry. Do you want to say anything?
Thank you, Chair. Good evening. Councillor Rob Hughes, member for Portland Ward, the Isle and Royal Manor of Portland, that is. I would like to nominate Les Fry, who for over 28 years during his professional role within the Dorset Police was engaged with licensing on a daily part of his career. And Les has also worked over the last few years within the Licensing Committee and done an excellent job. And I think, like me, many of you would agree, Les is a perfect choice for Vice Chair of Licensing. Thank you.
Is there a seconder for Les Fry? Any other nominations for Vice Chair of the Licensing Committee? No. In that case, we'll have a vote on the handset between Louise Bowen and Les Fry.
The vote is now open. Councillor Dickinson, could you please vote for us again? And Councillor Neil Isaac, please could you press your button again? Thank you very much. The vote is now closed. The results of the vote are Councillor Louise Bowen, 42 votes, Councillor Les Fry, 10, abstentions 27. Therefore, Councillor Louise Bowen is duly elected Vice Chair. Thank you.
Congratulations, Louise Bowen. Now, because no more queries about the nominations for chairs and vice chairs, we can look at the rest and vote en bloc, if you're happy. All those in favour of voting for the others en bloc, please show. Thank you. Sorry. Was a question? No. Item 14, the appointments to outside bodies. Again, Jonathan Mayer.
Thank you, Chair. So, having dealt with the appointments to your own committees and the chairing of those committees, we now move on to appointments to outside bodies, joint bodies and panels. As per the report, we've separated those bodies into broadly three categories: national and significant bodies, external bodies, and then the appointment of local member appointments. We have 4 recommendations in the report, but I'm going to ask that you don't agree to recommendation 4, which deals with dispensations, because we have a separate report on this agenda, which deals specifically with a range of categories of dispensations, including the one that also appears there in recommendation 4. So, Chairman, I hope that the Council will move to agree recommendations 1, 2 and 3 of this report. Thank you.
Can I ask the proposer to recommend all these en bloc? Councillor Ireland. Thank you very much. All those in favour of looking at them en bloc, please show. Thank you. That's carried. Item 15, dispensations for councillors. The leader will introduce this.
Yeah, it is what it says on the tin. Without these sort of dispensations, none of us would be able to vote on things like council tax. So we basically wouldn't be able to do our jobs. So the report's in front of you, and I recommend you approve it.
Is there a seconder for that recommendation? Thank you very much. Want to speak about the recommendations? Are we all happy? Thank you. We'll have a vote on the...
Okay. The vote is now open. Councillor Flower, would you mind pressing your button again for us, please? Thank you. 46. Councillor Cathy Lugg, could you also just... Yeah, thank you. 70. And Councillor David Taylor, would you mind just pressing your button again for us, please? Thank you. Yeah, the vote is now closed. Results of the vote are 79 in favour of the recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you all supporting that. So we move on to item 16, the sexual harassment policy, which I think is presented by Councillor Richard Biggs.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Yes, Richard Biggs, Poundbury, Dorchester. I hope you've all had an opportunity to read the policy and the guidance to councillors. If you haven't, I do urge you to have a look, because it's really important stuff. I mean, this came out of as an actual case, an incident involving an ex-councillor here. So I think it's really important that we understand the rules, and that when we're in this council buildings or any other satellite buildings, we're in council officers' workplace. So I do hope that we can follow, as I'm sure we all do. But we've got new members who may be coming from different backgrounds and using different cultures, but this is standards that we should adhere to, and I hope particularly if any members just fall out of line, that group leaders will quickly point out their errors and take appropriate action. I do urge you all to read this if you haven't already done so, and please recommend it. I recommend it to council. Thank you.
We have a seconder for that proposal. Knock. Thank you very much, Doc. Thank you. Does anyone want to debate the issue? No. Everyone happy? Well, we'll have a vote on that, this recommendation then. Your handsets when Susan's ready.
The vote is now open. Thank you, councillors. The vote is now closed. The results of the vote are 79 in favour. Thank you.
Thank you for supporting that motion. It would be helpful for all members of council and staff. Item 17, there are no urgent items. Item 18, no exempt business. So can I thank you all for coming to this evening. I hope you enjoyed your first council meeting for some of you, and have a good journey home, and I'll see you soon. Thank you very much.